The following program is a production of WLRN.
Coming up on ArtStreet, children with special needs discover their hidden talents. An artist village comes to life at the Deering Estate in Cutler. Take a trip back in time at the Miami Circle and look at nature in a new way through the lens of a photographer. All this and more on ArtStreet.
Welcome to ArtStreet. I'm Meredith Porte, and I look forward to sharing some more compelling art stories with you. The Deering Estate is where legendary industrialist and arts lover Charles Deering's dream of an artist village is finally being fulfilled after 100 years. Enter the gates of Deering Estate at Cutler, and you instantly feel the peace and gentleness of another time. Illinois industrialist and philanthropist Charles Deering himself was drawn to this rural, tranquil area, making it his winter home in 1915. His half-brother, James Deering, preferred the downtown Miami area, where he built his more lavish estate, Vizcaya. Deering Estate is now becoming known as the place where creativity abounds, a thriving artist village.
The concept of an artist village was bantered around. So what does that mean? That means you start with artist in residence and a place where artists can come, collaborate, co-create works of art.
The artist village at Deering Estate now houses 7 artists in residence, including poetry, playwriting, painting, photography, and soon to come, a children's mystery writer.
They're inspired by either the history, the architecture, the culture, or the just sheer beauty and naturalness of this environment. It's not about painting botanicals, but it is about being inspired about the organic, the natural nature of things.
Deering Estate is also a music lover's paradise, with Charles Deering's Stonehouse Ballroom as the intimate setting for the Living Artist Concert Series and the Deering Estate Chamber Ensemble, which collaborates with musicians from top professional orchestras and exceptional youth performers.
It was always our dream to play chamber music in a natural environment, to be able to nurture, to build our own audiences, to have also provide a place to nurture our youth.
Visual artist in residence Laura Stein-Pardo is an artist, teacher, and PhD candidate in anthropology. She teaches students the art of mapping.
I'm working to build an online interactive website that has maps and information about artists who lived and worked in Miami from the 30s to the 50s. And so I see it as really like a combination of what I do as an artist and what I'm doing as a cultural anthropologist. And so this mapping workshop kind of came out of that. I wanted a way for people to engage with maps and think about what maps mean.
Brian Call has been the photographer in residence, creatively inspired by the wildlife at Deering Estate.
First and foremost was actually getting out to the wilderness areas here on the estate. It's beautiful. And it's varied as well. You have pine rocklands, you've got, you've got the bay, you've got manatees coming into the boat basin, sharks. It's just an amazing place to be out there and photograph.
The idea of an artist village at Deering Estate actually dates back to Charles Deering himself, who dreamed of having his own arts community. He not only supported the arts, but befriended artists as well.
He wanted to create an art center in his 2 castles that he was preserving in Spain. He was an amateur artist himself, but did fantastic studio work in Anders Zorn's studio and John Singer Sargent's studio. So when we looked at the estate as a whole, we saw that that story was not being told adequately.
Charles Deering forecasts the weather. The Deering estate lies a blunt half-mile east of my scant acres, what might be their soup cook's quarters or the Sunday kitchen. No, Deering doesn't really lie. Rather, it sits, in some lights squats, to hunker on its limestone egg nest, sweet creeks, spring waters secretly running nearby.
Barbara Deering-Danielson is Charles Deering's great-granddaughter. She's convinced that he would be thrilled to see his home transformed into an artist village.
I think he'd be very comfortable because it feels the same. I think he'd be incredibly excited about all the artists in residence, the fact that there are writers and there are graphic artists and there's photography. He was very keen on photography because it's hard to photograph landscape in a hammock. There's light and dark, it's really difficult. Painters, he was a painter and a good painter.
Barbara recalls what it was like to spend one spring vacation at Deering Estate.
Art was all over the place, and there were comfy chairs, and there were books everywhere, and you could put, growing, when I was here as a child, I didn't feel intimidated at all. You just sat down, picked up a book, looked at art, and didn't think about it because it was part of the soul of the place. And this is now being recreated, and I think it's very exciting.
It's not like going to a museum and seeing, the wonderful showpieces. It's about how art interacts in your life, how the environment interacts with man and people. And that's exciting and also what touches us on an individual level.
To learn more about the Deering Estate Artist Village, check out deeringestate.com. History Miami invites you to explore the adventurous world of Charles Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart, and many other legendary pioneers. You'll get to see artifacts once used by these famous aviators. This significant exhibition, called Aviation in Miami, the First 100 Years, also offers a glimpse into the impact of the aviation industry on Miami during the 20th century. For more information, check out historymiami.org.
ArtStreet is always in search of people and places that embody creativity. Over the last few months, we became very interested in what creativity means.
Creativity, to me, is about being curious, thinking outside of the box.
Taking some idea or some spark of inspiration that comes to me,
and to be inspired by it. I think creativity to me is about being curious. And it's this idea of, when you're a child and you're sort of like, well, what happens if I do this, or what happens if I do that? So that's primarily what creativity means to me. And what it does is it helps you problem solve. I think that creativity is not something that can be learned. I think it's an innate sensibility, but it is the one thing I feel that has gotten me through life. Being creative, being able to problem solve not just artwork, but just in life in general, in my career as a professor at Miami-Dade College. It's the outlet, through which you can find the best possible solution.
Creativity to me is about taking some idea or some spark of inspiration that comes to me and going through the process of making it happen. And in that process, I learned so many things about myself and my limits, and it allows me to really push myself to new directions and try out new things. And I think that opens up doorways for other things that part of the process of creativity is just making an idea, taking an idea to reality. You're constantly re-looking at the world in a different angle, in a different view, and you find all these little secrets and surprises.
For me, creativity is the ability to have a heightened perception of the world around you and to be inspired by it. But it's also the ability to translate that inspiration into a coherent work of art. Personally, as an architect, the creative process for me is always the continual search between what is timeless and temporal. What I mean by that is the ability to be informed by the breadth of knowledge that precedes us, but to also want to be ever present and reflective of this particular place and time.
Creativity, to me, means thinking outside of the box, to problem solve, to create, to have an idea and then be able to develop it into something that people can appreciate and make it something tangible. This, to me, is a way of obviously getting out something that is inside of me that feels it needs to come out. And also, in a way, the kind of work that I do, which is very repetitive and based on structure and pattern, kind of allows me to organize my own world. So for me, making this kind of work is a way of restructuring my own reality and giving it meaning.
And now on ArtStreet, we stroll through a park in Miami, which truly takes us back to ancient times when people thrived along the river. At the mouth of the Miami River, surrounded by condos, banks, and other businesses, lies Miami's newest park. It's the Miami Circle, and offers a way to get to know Miami's oldest inhabitants.
Tequesa Indians lived on both sides of the river, on the north and south bank of the river, and their main village was right here on the mouth of the Biscayne Bay. So one of the best opportunities for fishing, for hunting, they had prime real estate, just like these condos that surround us today.
George Zamanillo was one of the key archaeologists who uncovered this site 12 years ago. After discovering a small arc, a mysterious 38-foot circle was found.
That circular formation indicates a post hole pattern. What they were doing is there's not much soil out here, so they were digging into the limestone for a place for the pine trees or the cypress, whatever they were using for the logs, to fit into these basins, and they would backfill them, and this would form the walls around this house or structure.
George Zamanillo is elated that the Miami Circle was saved after years of battling with the developers who wanted to demolish the site. Now open to the public, people come to jog and walk with their children or dogs, exploring our city's ancient history.
We've never actually been here before, so we kind of wanted to come and check it out and see what it's all about. And as we were reading the plaques, we realized that some Indians have made their homes over here for 2,000 years ago and were driven away in about 500 years ago by the Europeans that came and settled this land, I suppose. But it's very interesting, very educational. It's important to preserve a site like this for our children to know how this land was founded and where we came from.
I live in the Icon, and I come here every night. Actually, I come here in the mornings too, and it's a very peaceful place. I don't know the meaning of the stones, but I really like it. I like that there's some open space in downtown Miami, and I actually wish there was more of it.
There are also those who come to offer meaning to this significant site. Catherine Hummingbird Ramirez has been coming to the site every Tuesday at 6 p.m. for 13 years now, conducting her smoke ceremony and giving blessings. She is known as the Caribbean Tribal Indian Queen, who keeps the memory of this ancient Tequesta tribe alive.
When I come here and I do ceremonies, I do it for all the people that come here and want some sort of peace and tranquility. And they could sit down and lie down and they meditate. Or you will see them taking exercises.